There's been loads of talk this week about who is the best central midfielder in the Premier League this season. Is it Rice? Is it Caicedo? Szoboszlai had early shouts for Tonali. Well, I asked you guys at home to send in who you think have been the sort of long list of best midfielders in the Premier League. I think I've got 24, 25 names in front of me across a big old spectrum of clubs. Today, we're going to rank them from my number one, which we'll come to at the very end of this video, all the way down to they've started the season a little slowly. You'll also notice that there are no attacking midfielders, so I've kind of tried to avoid players that are traditionally number 10s, like Eze's, like Ødegaard's, although Bruno is in here. He's now playing a little bit deeper. Now, they're in no particular order, but we're going to start with Alex Scott, who has been thriving at Bournemouth in a much deeper role. It's really interesting to see his transition. I never really expected it. The footballer I saw in Bristol, comparatively to the footballer we're seeing now, it is very different, but it's absolutely working. This sort of deep-lying distributor who's able to break the lines with excellent dribble numbers. He's in the top 10% of European central midfielders for his successful take-ons. Very graceful on the ball, and I definitely think he's underrated. Still think he's got a little bit of a way to go, and we're going to talk about Tyler Adams later on in this video, who I think has been absolutely out this world. But Bournemouth as a unit just function perfectly, and I think Alex Scott is a huge reason for that. He's one of the names like Ryan Christie that just really don't get much attention when they absolutely should. How about Elliot Anderson then, being linked with £100+ million moves this week to Manchester United, and I certainly think you have to put him straight into the on fire right now category. The most line-breaking passes of any midfielder in the Premier League. His progressive pass numbers are out of this world. He's still only 22 years old. I think people forget how much of a steal Elliot Anderson was for Forest. Yes, they signed him for £35 million from Newcastle, but Vlachodimos went the other way for £22 million, so it was like a net £13 million deal. You've seen him really come into his own, not just in a Forest shirt as well, but also in an England shirt. Man of the match in his first 2 England performances, and it feels like right now he has got the deep lying spot for England locked down at the World Cup ahead of players like Adam Wharton. He has been on a different planet. His defensive duel numbers are outrageous. In fact, this statistic really stood out to me because Elliot Anderson is one of just 5 players in Europe that since the start of last season has put up over 35+ shots, 35+ key passes, 35+ take-ons, 35+ defensive duels, 50+ progressive passes, and 50+ carries. All of those things combined, only 5 players in Europe have managed to do, and they are some of the best midfielders in Europe. We're talking the likes of Pedri. Elliot Anderson is in the 5. You can see why there is such a clamour from big clubs to potentially sign him. He is super robust, an amazing passer, plays pretty much every minute of every game. We are talking about the birth of a superstar here this season. How about Granit Xhaka? Obviously, he is on fire right now. He is a contender for one of the best central midfielders in the league, despite the fact he's playing for Sunderland. What he's done at that club is nothing short of remarkable. I interviewed him, I had the pleasure of speaking to him for Sunderland, and he was so powerful. You can tell he's a leader. You can see why he's immediately got the captaincy. Even at his age, he's covered more ground than any other player in the Premier League. He's contributing goals as well. He's put up 16 chances created already, over 20 tackles. The guy is an absolute machine at both ends of the pitch, but it's his leadership around the dressing room, on the field with a lot of young players that are making their Premier League debuts that's been so impressive to me. He's been one of the best players in the league so far, and I think there's a strong argument he's been the best signing of the summer. You'd obviously look at the likes of Ekitike as well, Zubimendi we're going to come on to talk about, but he's got to be up there. Palhinha, too. I think you have to put him in on fire right now. I know that he is part of a defensive pivot, a double pivot in midfield that isn't quite functioning correctly, and we'll come on to talk about Bentancur in a little bit. Both of these players look like they're better when they're not partnered with each other, if that makes sense. But João Palhinha still putting up the most tackles of any player in the Premier League. His previous 2 seasons at Fulham, he was blitzing it. Over 130 tackles in each of those seasons, clearing away the most in the league. So far this season, he's running over 5 per game. It would put him on course for over 190 across the season. But also at the top end of the pitch, he's already scored 4 goals. He's got 2 assists. Some of the goals have been big, particularly the equaliser against Wolves. I want to see him paired with Bergvall more. I want to see a Palhinha-Bergvall double pivot or a Palhinha-Papsar double pivot with Xavi Simons in front. I like Bentancur a lot, but right now I just love the robustness of Palhinha, and I think he does add another level to the midfield. Let's go to next up, one of the best central midfielders in the league last season, Alexis Mac Allister. I almost think he's actually started the season a little bit slowly. He's obviously comfortably in this tier. He is one of the best midfielders in the league on his day, and he proved that last season where I think he was a contender for the best midfielder in the league. He was absolutely monstrous, but I don't think we've quite seen the levels from him so far this season. We are going to. Thought he was much better against Real Madrid, and he's growing into the campaign. I think the fact he's had a newborn baby as well offsets that a little bit. Things in players' personal lives we don't really take into account when we should. But I know a lot of Liverpool season ticket holders that have been asking for him to come out of the side and to see more of Curtis Jones. He's only completed 190 minutes, full 90 minutes so far this season for Liverpool, and that is a little bit of a shock. There are question marks about the balance of the midfield. Szoboszlai has been outrageous. Gravenberch is returning. Curtis Jones is playing well. And I think there have been some question marks about whether or not Mac Allister has earned that starting spot so far this season. He will, like I said, be up here. He is going to grow into the campaign. Last season he'll be up there. But I just think he started a little bit slowly this season. How about Bruno G? I still think he's playing really well. I think a lot of the Newcastle team isn't actually functioning to its absolute best, or the best we saw last campaign, but the midfield does feel, at least in Tonali and Bruno G, like it's up there. He's created the most chances in this Newcastle squad by over 10. Nobody is coming close to that chance creation figure, but he's also putting out the joint most tackles and interceptions of any player in the squad. He's so dynamic, he's so robust. I still think him and Tonali are like the standout shining lights of the side, although Voltemada has obviously started the season really well. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to put him in this tier. Noah Siddiqui is definitely underrated. I don't think enough people are talking about the start he's made to the season. The second most distance covered behind Granit Xhaka in the Premier League. Huge defensive output. He's still extremely young, and I think it's helping him that he's paired with Granit Xhaka. The fact that at just 20 years of age, he's been able to come in and put up the pressing numbers he has, the interception and tackle numbers he has. He's won a huge volume of his defensive duels, as has Granit Xhaka. And the fact that these two have combined to form one of the best central midfield pairings, double pivots in the league, I mean, that's blown me away. I have to put him under it. I could almost put him in on fire right now. Reijnders? I'm actually probably going to just slot him into started slowly alongside Mac Allister. He went off like a rocket first game. The goal, the chances created, the assist. It was vintage Reijnders. It was the Reijnders we saw score 14 last season in Serie A, rip that league apart as one of the best central midfielders in the world. Haven't quite seen that across the last 8 or 9 weeks. No doubt he is getting back to his best now, and I think it's slowly starting to form that connection between him and Nico Gonzalez. I'm sure he'll look better as well when Rodri is back to his full fitness. You'll notice there is no Rodri in here because obviously he just hasn't really played at the start of this season. If he was fit, obviously he would probably be my number one, but we just haven't seen him play any football. I want to see more from Reijnders in an attacking sense. Now, it feels like Pep is going to take the handbrake off this team with Cherki, with Foden, Savinho, Doku, Bernardo all playing important roles. And Reijnders is going to have to find a way into that sort of mixing bag of talent because he has the level, but I haven't quite seen him at his absolute best, his Milan best across the last 7 or 8 weeks. So I'm going to say he started a little slow. Ryan Gravenberch has the highest defensive duel win success rate of any Premier League midfielder this season. He started 8 games, but I still haven't quite seen Ryan Gravenberch at his best. He scored some great goals. You know, the rising volley was absolutely picture perfect. But last season, we saw him as the best young player in the Premier League. He was voted as the best young player in the Premier League. He took home the award. He was a man possessed under Arne Slot in this changed role as a defensive midfielder. His passing this season hasn't been at its best. Still a ball-carrying machine. And I don't think he started as slowly as Maka. I'm probably going to put him in there just because it feels like he's been forgotten about a little bit. But he could easily be in there. The Liverpool midfield hasn't quite found its functionality yet. Bruno Fernandes, I mean, do you have to put him kind of in there? Because he's not really underrated, Bruno, is he? And he hasn't started the season slowly. He's created the most chances of any Premier League midfielder, the second most line-breaking passes. He's in the top 10 for tackles and interceptions. He's been pretty much everywhere. He's in the top 10 for most distance covered. I mean, this is a guy who's putting up nearly 10 progressive passes per 90. Those are Rodri numbers. That's in the top 1% or in the top 0.5% of European midfielders. He's got 4 goal contributions as well. Should have more than that. He's missed 2 penalties, 2 big moments this season. You think if United go and win against Brentford and turn that game around following the penalty, you go and win against Fulham, United are right up there in the mix. But I still think he's been exceptional in that midfield role. How about Martin Zubimendi, who has taken to the Premier League like a duck to water? No surprise, because Arteta has created the best system in the league that we've seen so far this season. At the moment, Arsenal have the most settled unit. Everybody looks like they're flowing and playing at their best, and I think Zubimendi has been a real beneficiary of that. Obviously, he's on fire. His passing range is ridiculous, but it's not necessarily his long passing. For me, what he does really well is control the tempo of games, picking the ball up off the centre-backs, slowing it down at the right moments, speeding it up at the right moments. And he's also allowed a player we're going to talk about in Declan Rice to progress even further up the field, to get even more involved in the box, to play a little bit more of a free role because he knows he's got the stability of Zubimendi playing much more centrally behind him. That triangle he's created between Gabriel, Saliba and Zubimendi, like, it is just Bermuda Triangle. Nobody gets through there. Nothing comes out of there. It's monstrous. I think he's been amazing. It's not easy to assimilate from La Liga to the Premier League this quickly, especially as a central midfielder. But we saw when he was in La Liga, he was putting up a huge volume of ground duels, like off the chart big. I think it was the most of any central midfielder in La Liga. What does Arteta love? He loves duel winners, aerial duel winners at the back, ground duel winners in midfield, and that's what Zubimendi's still doing. Adam Wharton, again, is he started the season a little bit underrated, maybe? Obviously, he's had injury problems, and I think that pays into it a little bit, but he's still got a lot of minutes. He's creating a huge volume of chances, actually. He's created the most chances in the Premier League of any player not to produce an assist. He's in the top 5% of European midfielders for his shot-creating actions, and he is just so beautiful to watch on the ball. He flows across the pitch, and he could easily be in here, couldn't he? In fact, I'm probably going to bump him into there because Crystal Palace have actually been great at the start of the campaign, and he still hasn't been part of an England squad with Thomas Tuchel, though I think he will. He was very unlucky, missed out with one due to that groin injury, didn't he, that he's picked up a fair few times now. Yeah, he is still on fire. Bentancur, I don't know. I could put him in one of these two categories. I think I'm going to put him in started slow, despite the fact Tottenham, for points, for wins, for defensive numbers, for goals scored, are right up there as one of the best sides in the league under Thomas Frank. The fans aren't happy with the way they play football, and I think the reason that they aren't, or a large reason that they aren't, is this double pivot. Do we think Bentancur works better without Palhinha? Probably. Do we think Palhinha works better without Bentancur? Probably. I mean, you look at midweek, that was probably the best I've seen Bentancur play for Tottenham in like 18 months. Dominic Szoboszlai is up next. He could be number one. Honestly, he could be. He's obviously on fire right now. He is right up there as a contender. He's played about 8 roles, including right back, but also I think he's been best as a box-to-box central midfielder. He never gives the ball away. His passing range is phenomenal. He is got to be one of the fittest players in the league. Last season, it was him that covered the most distance of any player, I believe. He's been overtaken this season so far, anyway, by Granit Xhaka. That might well jump back up when he goes back into midfield. But he never puts a foot wrong. Like, his decision-making is perfect. He contributes with goals and assists. Excellent dead ball delivery, but also excellent dead ball striking. I mean, the goal from range against Arsenal, the only team to beat them so far this season. Insane. He doesn't have a hold to his game, does he, Dom? Like, you could put him centre-back, you feel like he'd do a job. You could put him up front, you feel like he'd do a job. He's probably the one player in the league where you could play in every single position, he'd be perfect. Rice would probably be up there as well for me. A lot of people at home wanted me to mention Yassine Ayari. I definitely think he is underrated. I think he started the better of the two in midfield between him and Baleba. There were question marks coming into this season about what level Ayari could reach, but his composure on the ball is absolutely brilliant. And I think Herzler has recognised that. He is Brighton's most used central midfielder, most used midfielder, actually. The only players ahead of him with more minutes so far this campaign, I think, are the centre-backs, the goalkeeper, and maybe one of the forwards. But he, as the midfielders go, is the go-to guy, ahead of Baleba, who has had a bit of a sticky start to the season, and we will touch upon that later on. Overall, nobody talks about Yassine Ayari. I think if you ask the everyday football fan on the street, Brighton's midfield who starts, they might not even name Yassine Yari as a starting player, when in reality he's one of the key components to Brighton doing anything well. He is intense out of possession, very composed in possession, an excellent line-breaking passer. His progressive pass numbers are in the top 15% of European midfielders. He's a really underrated player. Okay, Moises Caicedo, obviously a very, very strong contender for the number 1 slot. Dom Szoboszlai and Caicedo, I think, are currently leading the way. We haven't come on to Declan Rice yet. We will touch upon him as well. As a combination for tackles and interceptions, the most of any player in the league. Obviously, interceptions, he's far and away clear. I think João Palhinha leads the way in tackles, but he is everywhere. He's a pressing machine. He's got to be one of the fittest players in the league. You look at his performance against Tottenham, the pressing in the 90th minute was as good as the pressing early doors when he took the ball off Van de Ven, took the ball off of Xavi Simons. He is absolutely everywhere all the time. His passing range is criminally underrated. His ball striking from range, in terms of his shooting, is amazing. If you let him have a chance around the edge of the area, he will kill you. I mean, look at the goal against Liverpool. It's stunning. But I also think his combativeness bleeds through the rest of the team. When he is flying into tackles, when he is on the pitch doing the job of 2 or 3 players, everybody else's level gets raised. You could leave him as a sole pivot and play 2 10s. He's that good. He feels like you've got 4 of them on the pitch. I don't know how he does it. You know, I remember tweeting when he first joined Chelsea that £115 million in 2 or 3 years could well look like a bargain. I think it looks like a bargain now. I think he comfortably gets into any team in the world, Caicedo. How about Nico Gonzalez? Do we have to start putting a bit more respect on Nico's name? He came into a pretty difficult situation at Manchester City. We were on a torrid run last season in the January window. He bedded in quite slowly, but there was huge hype around him. And at the end of the day, this is a player who had connections to Manchester City's academy, wanted to join Pep Guardiola's side and play against Rodri, or at least compete to play alongside Rodri. It's a difficult role, that. Rodri is going to lock it down when he's fit and available, so you are kind of scratching around for minutes or trying to prove that you are good enough to play alongside him. And so far this season, I've got some of the stats in front of me here. 3rd of any Premier League player for line-breaking passes, 1st for pass completion, 1st for pass into the penalty area, 1st for aerial duels, 2nd for touches. That's of any Premier League midfielder. I think he has been really important to a decent Man City side. A Man City side that we are talking about potentially pushing Liverpool and Arsenal for a Premier League title. I'm tempted to put him on fire right now. He's definitely underrated. Let's maybe put him in. He's definitely underrated. He could be in there. Man City fans, make a case in the comments below for why you would have him in on fire right now, because I do think he's been excellent. Next up, we've got Sandro Tonali, Paul Scholes' favourite central midfielder in the league. Obviously, he is absolutely on fire. Another contender for this first place slot. Amazing performance midweek against Bilbao, taking home the Man of the Match trophy. So dominant on the ball to be ridiculous, actually. But also, I think he is underrated with his power in the midfield area to run past people, to drive with the ball, to drive without the ball, and pick up spaces and make tackles. He doesn't look the quickest, but he is so direct and dynamic that he just eats up ground constantly. Like, you think, oh, hang on, Tonali just cleared the ball. How's he on the edge of the area all of a sudden, trying to score a goal? But he does. And I think when you combine that with a player like Bruno G, who is very similar in their work ethic and their tenacity to get up and down the pitch, it's perfect. It's interesting to see what the long-term future of a player like Joelinton is alongside those two, because their level is so clearly sort of world-class. I think Tonali could be one of the best central midfielders in the world in the next couple of years, that it does put pressure on him. But yeah, Tonali, obviously, his decision-making as well. When to slip a pass in, when to deliver the ball into the box to players like Nick Voltemada. He scores goals, creates chances, his tackle and interception numbers are huge, defensive duel rate's huge. I think he is a contender for the number 1 slot. Casemiro has had a huge resurgence. I think he is really underrated at the moment. He could be in this category. Man United are so much better with him on the field. Before the weekend's game against Nottingham Forest, they'd only conceded 3 Premier League goals with Casemiro on the field. It was a real problem. Him coming off at 60 or 70 minutes, him being banned, him being injured. When he didn't play, United conceded loads of goals. At the weekend, of course, they did concede 2 with him on the pitch. But at the other end, He's the joint top scoring midfielder in the league so far this season. He has been everywhere. A massive, massive threat from every single set piece. I think that we've seen a little bit of a remontada for Casemiro this season. One game a week Miro does hit different. Carlos Baleba has definitely started the season slowly. You've heard Fabian Hertzler talk about the rumours and the noise around him affecting him on the field. He's been substituted in 8 of his 9 Brighton starts. I think at the weekend was the only time he's played the full 90 so far this campaign, and we are starting to see the best of Baleba again. The ball-carrying machine, his progressive carry numbers for his age stand out amongst European midfielders. When he wants to go past you in a physical battle, you are doomed. Okay, so if we can get the best of Baleba again, Brighton are going to make a huge amount of profit on him come the summer. But if we don't see the best of Baleba again so far this season, I think there will be question marks amongst certain teams as to whether or not the pressure and the noise around a big club, Manchester United were very interested in him, has that affected him externally? So what happens when he's brought into Man United and the pressure and the noise is even bigger? Those are question marks I think he's going to have to address across the course of the season, but I think he can. He is a sensational footballer. Great ball striker, hugely physical presence on and off the ball. He's going to be one of the best midfielders in the world, Baleba. I really believe it. Next up, we've got Declan Rice. I mean, he's obviously on fire. A very strong contender for that number 1 slot. First in the Premier League for goals and assists amongst midfielders. First for progressive carries. Second for assists. Second for expected assists. Second for key passes. Second for short pass completed. Third for short pass completion. Third for expected goals. Third for expected assists. Yeah, the guy is a machine. In every sense of the word. Off the ball running power, on the ball running power, passing, shooting from range, set piece delivery. He's playing as an 8, as a 6. He plays everywhere on the pitch. Mikel Arteta talking about this sort of adapted role, much more box to box. This is like watching a player from the noughties, a Roy Keane, a Steven Gerrard, who could play as an attacking midfielder, a defensive midfielder, would be at right back, a bit at left wing. For me, he is the complete player in the league. Every team in the world would be improved with Rice, and that is saying something. Jordan Henderson could be an ear. He's definitely underrated, though. He's made an amazing start to the season. Shout out to whoever it was that suggested him be talked about on this list. His partnership with Yarmouk was also being suggested. I wanted to put him in as well. He's so young, Yarmouk. His numbers really stand out. But I wanted to talk about Jordan Henderson today because he came to the league sort of under a cloud of derision, really. A lot of people were saying he's finished at the top level. He shouldn't be coming back to the Premier League, definitely shouldn't be involved in England squads. Now you look at it, he's been one of the better central midfielders in the league for a transitional Brentford side. He has comfortably locked down a midfield place in that England squad as things stand. As a leader, he provides everything you'd want as a replacement for Christian Norgard, but also on the field, his long passing range has been excellent. I think the actual work he did at Ajax went under the radar a little bit. When he first joined, it was a catastrophe, it was a disaster there. He was never going to be, a superstar central midfielder that took the Eredivisie by storm. But as a leader, he came into that side, and he really should have won the Eredivisie title in his second season. He should have. They collapsed. They gave PSV that title. If he'd have come out of that campaign with an Eredivisie title and then come back to the Premier League, it might have been looked upon slightly differently. But because he didn't, and they finished second, and there was a bit of derision around him, he was almost seen as a joke signing. How wrong people were. He has been excellent for Brentford. Tyler Adams, I definitely want to put in. He is underrated. He could be in here. He's been monstrous for a Bournemouth side that are competing for a Premier League title as we sit here today. Do I think they will be at matchday 38? No. But at matchday 10, they are. They are one of the best sides in the league under one of the best coaches in the league. Every player performs above their level, be that the backline, the midfield, or any of the forwards. They all look better under Iraola, and that is the case with Tyler Adams. He's a machine off the ball, putting out the most tackles and the most interceptions in the Bournemouth squad. He plays pretty much every single minute. He puts up the most pressures in the Bournemouth squad, and that's important because Andoni Iraola creates a team that presses. No team in the Premier League presses higher and more frequently than Bournemouth. It was the same with his Rayo Vallecano side in La Liga, and players like Tyler Adams are crucial to that. Final name is Boubacar Kamara, who is definitely underrated, but he is on fire. He is so good. I mean, on the ball, his ability to drive past people, he's in the top 10% of European midfielders for his progressive carries, and I still don't think that even tells a tale. His ability to drive past people into gaps is so brilliant. The fact they managed to lock him down to a 5-year contract till 2029 recently is great news for Villa, because they signed him for a free. He didn't cost them anything, and when you consider that him and Tielemans are free transfers, when Tielemans returns as a midfield partnership, the fact that that costs £0, it's eye-watering. Kamara is one of the best midfielders in the league. He's still got so many more levels to go up that I think in a couple of years' time, he could be playing for, no offence to Villa, but he could be playing for like a Bayern Munich, a Real Madrid, if he continues on at this level. Okay, time now then to crown the number 1 midfielder. Look, for me, the options really are these 4. Szoboszlai, Caicedo, Tonali, Declan Rice. I think it probably is between Declan Rice and Caicedo. And for me, I am going to go for Declan Rice. Caicedo's off-the-ball work, I think, has been the standout in the league. He is a machine across the ground. If you were doing off-the-ball midfielders, I would have him in my number 1. But I just think in terms of well-roundedness, what he can provide from set pieces, what he can provide from open play, his goal-scoring numbers, even his sort of defensive numbers, yes, they're not as good as Caicedo's, but they're not terrible. They're still sort of up there amongst the best in the league. So as a well-rounded profile, I'm going to go for Declan Rice. I think he is one of the reasons we are seeing the best Arsenal side in 20 years, a team that is going to win the Premier League, a team that could compete probably more so than Chelsea for the Champions League title. Now, if you swap these two around, you put Caicedo in Rice's position, do I think he could be doing what Rice is doing? Probably pretty similar, but I would say the same for Rice and Caicedo. I just, in my head, don't see anybody that's as well-rounded as Rice. Caicedo is very close though. I mean, this is a toss of a coin. Who would you pick, Rice or Caicedo? Let me know in the comments below. Okay, if you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button, hit subscribe. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.